Simon Saradzhyan joins me now from Cambridge, Massachusetts. He's a researcher at Harvard University's Belfer Center for Science and International Affairs. His areas of expertise include Russia's foreign, defense, and security policies. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Simon, we've been watching a lot of back and forth, extended sanctions, a Russian response to that, and now an announcement that the U.S. plans to build up its military in the region. Would you call that a serious escalation? And how far do you think we could see this all go?
So far, I would describe this as a significant development. If you are referring to the announcement by U.S. Secretary of Defense Ashton Carter that after all, equipment for a brigade will be prepositioned in several countries. But I wouldn't describe it as a dramatic escalation, primarily because everything is relative. Brigade, Russia has dozens and dozens of brigades, including those deployed in the western part of the country. So it doesn't change the overall balance of forces in the region. Therefore, I wouldn't describe it as dramatic, but definitely if both sides continue along that road, and if Russia responds, which it said it will, by deploying more hardware, for instance, in the Kaliningrad exclave and other parts of Western Russia, and US and its NATO allies, which, by the way, I'm not sure are all behind this plan, respond to that, then definitely, yes, this escalatory trajectory can take both sides fairly far to the detriment of both sides.
Well, give us a sense, if you could, based on your experience there, what do you think is happening behind closed doors at the Kremlin as this continues to play out with this new announcement? How do you think the Kremlin will respond? And do you think that the extended sanctions will do anything?
Well, I don't have a crystal ball to see what's going on behind the Kremlin walls from Cambridge. My general impression is that Vladimir Putin and his aides see this as a long game, and this particular incidence of announcement that US and its allies will deploy equipment and that they are extending sanctions is just one step in that long game, one move in that long game. I don't see Russia backing down because the sanctions are extended. Russia has already learned how to live under these sanctions, and no country has yielded only because of sanctions. And these sanctions are far from sanctions that have been imposed on Iran. And even Iranian-style sanctions took a while for Iran to acquiesce to and start negotiating in earnest. So I don't see Russia yielding because either of the sanctions or deployment of additional equipment for a brigade in Eastern Europe. It's a long game, and until Russia sees a solution, or rather willingness, genuine willingness by Ukraine to accommodate its interest in finding a solution to the conflict, Russia will continue its policy.
And it seems that Europe is pretty much caught in the middle of all of this. Do you see Germany or France weighing in or trying to move forward in resolving tensions over Ukraine? This has lasted maybe much longer than anyone anticipated.
I believe that Germany and France and other leading European countries, they simply see no other solution but a peaceful solution. If anything, the conflict has proved that the Ukrainian military cannot win this war, for reasons I'm not going to explain given the lack of time. So Russia also realizes that, you know, it's no longer the 19th century, so nations do not occupy other nations. So the best way forward is to find a solution. And for Europe, it's important to play a lead role in that because it affects European security most of all. This conflict has undermined the foundations of the European security system, which were already fragile and shaky, given all the failures of that system in the 90s, including the Balkan Wars, and in the 2000s, including the 2008 war. So for France and Germany, it's the matter of their vital national interest to defuse this conflict and to facilitate a peaceful resolution of this conflict.